Today we're going to talk about one of the most important factors for you to hit straight golf shots, so ultimately you can lower your scores and get good at golf. Hi everyone, my name's James Robinson. If you want to do just that, make sure you do hit that subscribe button, throw a like on this video if you find that it helps, and let us know in the comments what would you like to see in regards to golf tips to help you get good at golf. So today we're going to talk about the club face, and this is a really important factor that a lot of golfers, I'm not going to say get wrong, because I think get wrong is something which a lot of people do kind of start saying too often. Let's just say you don't quite get it right. That's better, Chris, isn't it?
It is.
So how can I make sure this club face stays nice and square to what I want it to throughout the golf swing? That's something which a lot of people sometimes fail to understand. If I was to keep a golf club square to the ball the whole time, the golf swing would look like this. And that, in essence, isn't what I want the club to look like. That is actually a really closed club face. And if we were to keep the club face square to the target the whole time, it would look something like this. It would be nigh on impossible. But what we want to do is make sure this club face stays square to the rotation of the golf swing. So I want to make sure that as I move away here, this club face is kind of hooding a little bit towards the ball, but it's matching my posture nicely. So it's matching my spine angle nicely here. As this shaft gets vertical to the ground, you can see that I can set this club up. It's still nice and square to my wrist angles. I get to the top of the backswing, the club face is hopefully still nice and square to my wrist angles. And as I start the downswing, the sequence of my body works nicely. You can see I've got a little bit more shaft angle here moving down, but still that club face is matching my spine angle here. This is key if you want to hit straight golf shots, if you want to hit golf shots where you know where they're going to go, because it doesn't have to be a straight golf shot. As long as you deliver the club face consistently with a nice consistent swing path, you might hit a baby fade, you might hit a baby draw, you might hit a nice consistent shot, and that's fine. Some of the best golfers in the world, in fact most of them, don't hit straight golf shots, but they do hit consistent golf shots because they know what the club face is doing. So what I like to think is, as I'm taking the club away with my upper body, the lower body stays nice and still, and I just feel like my chest rotates. That's all I feel like I do as I take the club away. You'll see my hips aren't moving at all. It's just me moving that club into a nice position here. Then I want to set it up and move my hips a little bit, and then the downswing that we spoke about with a nice transition down into the ball. One thing that does change as you move into the ball as opposed to when you're static at address is that shaft angle. So when I'm at address, my shaft angle is around here. I've got the butt of the club pointed at maybe my left belt loop, but as I go down into impact, you'll see that I load it to the top, come down into impact, the club face stays square to what I want it to, so square to the angle of my body. We actually have a little bit more forward shaft lean, so we're de-lofting that club a little bit, but the club face is still square to where I want it to go, so it's still square to pretty much the target at impact. As I start to move through the golf swing, this is where it gets really interesting, because this is where you can see a lot of people's golf swing really fall apart. If I get a square club face here, yet the club's really rotating over there, you'll see that's a closed club face. Or you might see people who have a square club face at impact and then they hold it off every time like this. And you might think, well, James, if it's square at impact, that's fine because it's going to go pretty much straight. The issue with that is if you're really rapidly rotating that club or rapidly holding it off, you're going to struggle to hit those consistent shots because you're not going to be able to time the release the same every single time. You don't want to be the player that really kind of fans it open here and then whips it through there, because sometimes you might have a closed club face, sometimes you might have an open club face, and that means the ball could go pretty much anywhere, which really isn't what you want to be doing. So let's make sure that checkpoint wise we have a couple of them. And the first one is here, so that club face is nice and square to my spine angle. The second one, if you're working with a coach or you're working on your game with a camera, is let's get to the top of the backswing and just assess if it's open, if it's closed, how it's looking there. And then the third one is back down in your delivery position, so that club face is still matching my spine angle. From there, as long as you're not delivering the club primarily with your hands and you're still working the body through nicely, you're generally not going to be releasing the club too much, you're not going to be holding it off. But if you do want a really good tip and a really good follow through position, let's think about this position here, because that club face is actually matching my spine angle again, just in a different way. You'll see there the club face is matching my body angle. If I was upright, it would be here. If I was further over, it would be here. And that's a really good way of thinking about how you move the club through the ball. So let's put that into practice. Let's hit one towards that post out there in this fairway, and generally you put all those things together, you can see you can hit really nice straight golf shots, and that should generally help you have more consistency and ultimately get good at golf.